Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pure Speak English. I'm Ben.
And I'm Crystal. It's so good to have you here with us today.
You know, Crystal, before we start today's episode, I just want to say something to everyone listening. Wherever you are right now, maybe you're walking, maybe you're at home, maybe you're on a bus or train, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with us.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're feeling a little tired today, or maybe a little lost, or maybe you're not sure what your next step should be, that's okay. You're in the right place.
Today's topic is really close to my heart. We're going to talk about something that many of us face in life, but we don't always talk about it openly. We're going to talk about starting over.
Starting over. Those two words can feel really big, can't they? Sometimes exciting, sometimes scary, but always full of possibility.
Exactly. And we want to make this episode feel like a warm conversation between friends. So we're going to share some stories, talk about our own experiences, and hopefully help you feel a little lighter, a little more hopeful.
Because starting over doesn't mean you failed. It means you're brave enough to try again.
Beautiful way to put it, Crystal. So let's take a deep breath together and let's begin. So, Crystal, when you hear the phrase starting over, what comes to your mind first?
That's a great question. I think the first thing I feel is a mix of emotions. There's fear, definitely, but there's also this quiet hope, like standing at the edge of something new, and you don't know what's ahead, but you know you can't go back.
That's such a real description. I feel the same way. For me, starting over always reminds me of one particular time in my life. I was working in a job that I didn't enjoy. Every morning, I woke up feeling heavy. You know that feeling?
Oh, yes, I know it well.
It was like carrying a backpack full of stones. And I kept telling myself, it's okay, Ben, just keep going. You need the money, you need the stability. But deep down, I knew something had to change.
So what did you do?
One day, I made a decision. I decided to leave that job and try something completely different. I didn't have all the answers, I didn't have a perfect plan, but I knew I couldn't stay where I was. And that decision, that moment of saying, I'm going to start over, it changed everything.
That takes so much courage, Ben, because starting over means letting go of what's familiar, even if it's not good for us.
Exactly. And I think that's the hardest part. We get comfortable, even in uncomfortable situations. We get used to the pain, and change feels risky.
I had a similar experience, actually. A few years ago, I moved to a new city where I didn't know anyone. I left behind my friends, my family, everything that felt safe. And for the first few months, I felt so alone.
That must have been really difficult.
It was. I remember sitting in my small apartment, looking out the window, and thinking, what have I done? Did I make a mistake? But slowly, day by day, I started to build a new life. I met new people, I discovered new places, and I realized that starting over gave me the chance to become someone I couldn't have been if I had stayed.
That's beautiful, Crystal. And I think that's what we want everyone listening to understand. Starting over isn't about running away from your problems. It's about running toward your potential.
Yes, it's about giving yourself permission to grow.
Now, let's talk about why starting over can feel so overwhelming. I think one big reason is that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We think, if I start over, I have to get it right this time.
Oh, absolutely. We think starting over means we have to be perfect, but that's not true at all.
Right. Starting over is messy. It's full of mistakes and learning and stumbling. And that's completely okay.
I love the word stumbling, because when you stumble, you don't fall completely. You just lose your balance for a moment, and then you keep going.
That's a great way to think about it. You know, I remember when I started learning to cook, I was terrible at first. I burned everything, I put too much salt in the soup, I even set off the fire alarm once.
Oh no, that sounds like a disaster.
It was. But I didn't give up. I kept trying. And now I actually enjoy cooking. It became something I love, even though the beginning was really hard.
That's such a good example, because starting over in any area of life, whether it's a career, a relationship, a hobby, or even learning a language, it all requires patience with yourself.
Exactly. And patience is something we don't talk about enough. We live in a world that moves so fast. Everyone wants instant results. But real growth takes time.
It really does. And I think that's why so many people give up too soon. They start something new, and when it gets hard, they think, maybe this isn't for me. But the truth is, it's supposed to be hard at first.
That's such an important point, Crystal. Difficulty doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Sometimes difficulty means you're growing.
Crystal, can I share another personal story?
Of course, please do.
A few years ago, I went through a really difficult breakup. And after that relationship ended, I felt like I had lost a part of myself. I didn't know who I was anymore without that person.
That sounds really painful.
It was, but it also became one of the most important periods of my life because I had to start over, not just in my relationship life, but in my relationship with myself. I had to learn how to be alone, how to enjoy my own company, how to find happiness inside, not from someone else.
That's a powerful lesson.
It really is, and I think a lot of people struggle with this. We often look for happiness outside of ourselves, in other people, in success, in material things. But true peace comes from within.
I couldn't agree more. And starting over gives us that opportunity to reconnect with ourselves, to ask, who am I? What do I really want? What makes me feel alive?
Yes, those are such important questions, and sometimes we need a big change in our lives to force us to ask them.
Exactly. Change can be painful, but it can also be a gift. Now let's talk about some practical steps for starting over, because I think a lot of people listening might be thinking, okay, this all sounds nice, but how do I actually do it? Where do I begin?
That's a great question, and I think the first step is to give yourself permission.
Permission.
Yes, permission to change, permission to let go of the old version of yourself, permission to try something new, even if you're scared.
I love that, because so often we wait for someone else to give us permission. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect sign. But the truth is, you are the only person who can give yourself permission to start over.
Exactly. You don't need anyone's approval. You just need to believe that you deserve a fresh start.
So that's step one. Give yourself permission. What's step two?
Step 2 is to let go of what's no longer serving you. And this can be really hard because sometimes the things we need to let go of are comfortable. Maybe it's a job that pays well but drains your energy. Maybe it's a friendship that feels familiar but isn't healthy. Maybe it's a belief about yourself that isn't true anymore.
That's so true. We hold on to things because they're familiar, not because they're good for us.
Right. And letting go doesn't mean you're ungrateful for what was. It just means you're making space for what could be.
Beautiful. So step one, give yourself permission. Step two, let go of what's no longer serving you. What's step three?
Step 3 is to take one small action. Just one. Because starting over doesn't mean you have to change everything at once. You just need to take one small step in the direction you want to go.
I think this is so important. A lot of people feel paralyzed because they think they need to have everything figured out. But you don't. You just need to start.
Exactly. And that small action could be anything. It could be writing down your goals. It could be having a difficult conversation. It could be signing up for a class you've been thinking about. It could be deleting a social media app that makes you feel bad about yourself.
Right. Small actions lead to big changes over time.
Yes, and the beautiful thing about taking small actions is that they build momentum. One small step leads to another, and before you know it, you've created a completely new life.
You know, Crystal, I think another important part of starting over is learning to be kind to yourself along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Self-compassion is everything.
Because when you're starting over, there are going to be days when you feel like you're not making progress. There are going to be moments when you doubt yourself, when you feel tired, when you want to give up.
And in those moments, you need to be your own best friend. You need to talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love.
Exactly. Instead of saying, "Why am I so bad at this? Why can't I figure this out?" You say, "I'm learning. I'm doing my best. It's okay to take my time."
Yes, and remember, starting over is not a race. There's no finish line, it's a journey.
That's such a good reminder, because we often compare our progress to other people's progress. We see someone else succeeding and we think, "I should be further along by now."
But everyone's journey is different. Someone else's timeline doesn't define yours.
Exactly. Your only job is to keep moving forward at your own pace.
Crystal, I want to talk about something that I think a lot of people struggle with when they're starting over, and that's fear.
Fear is such a big part of this, isn't it?
It really is. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. These fears can stop us from even trying.
So, how do we deal with fear?
I think the first thing is to acknowledge it. Don't pretend you're not scared. Don't try to